Well, welcome everyone here to the chambers for the Kalamazoo City Commission. It's nice to see you all here with us this evening and my colleagues as well. We didn't have a committee of the whole, so that makes it's a bit of an off night feeling here, I think, not having already been here for 2 hours. So I will now officially call this meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission to order for Monday, December 16th, 2024. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Cooney.
Present.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Pradel.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. For our opening ceremony this evening, we are honored to have Deacon Joe Schmidt here from St. Thomas More, and I will soon be asking him to come forward to provide the invocation. When he does, I'll ask everyone in the chambers please to stand and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Deacon Schmidt.
Whatever higher power we hold in our hearts during this time of the year, when darkness seems to pervade our life. I spent today with the family of a dear friend of mine from our community, who we will experience his loss gravely, was John Reeves. He was a major factor in our arts community. He won the Arts Award 3 years ago. And just trying to comfort his wife and work through some of the details. And she gave me one of the coins that he designed for himself. And on one side is his business, Combat Ready Art. And on the other side is a 2-word slogan that he used quite often, and that was hold fast. Hold fast. And I think that's something that our higher power calls us all to do. Just hold fast. He was a man who just did it. If you asked him to do something, he just did it. He had a can-do spirit. And he touched the lives of many college students in our town because of his work at K and the Civic Youth Theater. He came just before I did, so it's almost 30 years of residency here. And he was always teaching in his blacksmith shop. He ran classes so that people could learn to make things. And so I'm just praying tonight that we can all just hold fast to the service that we committed ourselves to do in our community. And each of that is different. But if we all hold fast, this will be a better place to live. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Deacon Schmidt, and thank you also for remembering John Reeves, who just passed yesterday. Now we are on to the adoption of the formal agenda. Commissioners, are there any items on the consent agenda, G, that you would like to have moved to the regular agenda? All right, seeing none. Thank you. The agenda stands. Communications, Manager Ritzma.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Now is the opportunity for public comments. Anyone here who's here in the chambers would like to provide a public comment, you can do so at this time. Just as a reminder, you'll have 4 minutes. There's a timer up there by the podium. please state your name and whether you live in the city. And also, this is not a time for dialogue, but it's a time for you to provide your thoughts here for the public and for the commission. Is there anyone interested in making a public comment this evening?
Thank you. My name is Jim Van Tynen. I'm a resident of Kalamazoo since about 1970. I live in Oshtemo Township, and I'm here representing Kalamazoo Valley Gleaners. That's Gleaners with a G, not with a C. Kalamazoo Valley Gleaners is a relatively new, about 3.5-year-old nonprofit located at 5541 King Highway. When I retired 4 years ago, I had a little too much time on my hands. And I said a prayer, dear Lord, put somebody or something in my path that I can serve you. I learned about some Calvin College alumni through their alumni newspaper magazine that had formed a gleaner up in Grand Rapids and were collecting surplus vegetables from area farmers for distribution to malnourished people around the world. We soon after that learned about other gleaners in Canada. Turns out there's really only a couple of these in the USA, but there's about a dozen of them in Canada. We visited the ones in Ontario and were so impressed, came home and shared our mission with our friends and other business colleagues, and we decided to form a 501c3. What Kalamazoo Valley Gleaners will do is collect surplus, cosmetically imperfect vegetables from area farmers. We currently have about 10 farmers lined up, and we will process this. My wife is going to follow after me to take a few minutes to tell you about that. We will process this for distribution to malnourished people around the world. We've come to realize that in North America, approximately 40% of the vegetables and the produce that is produced in this country never makes it to the market, to the table. Approximately 21,000 people on this planet die daily of malnutrition. We are a completely volunteer-based organization. At full production, we will be able to have 50 volunteers in our 23,000 square foot building daily. And my purpose in being here is to share about this with the City Commission. Gene Hess is an acquaintance of mine, and I can imagine there's probably a lot of people that stand at this podium and aren't very happy to share news, and maybe you hear negative things from time to time. Well, I just want to say we think Kalamazoo is a wonderful place to live, and we think there's probably a lot of people in this city that will embrace what we're doing. We're getting a good turnout of volunteers. We intend to open by the middle of January, and my wife's going to share some of the production numbers with you. It's an ambitious undertaking. It has not been easy, but God has blessed our mission. And is it possible, it says here do not approach, but I was wondering if I could just pass this around. So that's what we're about. We look forward to partnering with people from Kalamazoo County, Kalamazoo City, and we think we've got a good thing for the city, and Jane's going to tell you a little bit more about it.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, my name is Jane Van Tynen, and today at Kalamazoo Valley Gleaners, we had 30 volunteers process 4,000 pounds of potatoes. The volunteers washed, they trimmed the defects off the potatoes, chopped, and trayed up the potatoes and put them in our $250,000 dehydrator. In the dehydrator, 1,000 pounds becomes 100 pounds. And what the people do when they receive the food is they rehydrate it, and it becomes what it was originally. Tomorrow, we will bag and box the potatoes. This year, we will process 24 different kinds of produce. Our goal is the same as Niagara Christian Gleaners, who produce 15 to 20 million meals a year. This means filling a shipping container once a month. That's 2,200 boxes of food. Our food will be shipped through our relief agency, Feed the Hungry, to countries all over the world. We will be open Monday through Friday from 8:30 till noon, and people can sign up to volunteer at our website, kalamazoogleaners.org. A generous donor bought us a 23,000 square foot building for $850,000. We have been given $1 million worth of gift-in-kind contributions from area businesses in Kalamazoo. We have raised $2 million in contributions. At Kalamazoo Valley Gleaners, we are building a community asset that will have a worldwide impact, and we look forward to having you join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daniel. I'm a resident here in Kalamazoo. I've been here in Kalamazoo since the mid-'80s, so a lot things have changed till this year, 2024. I would like to invite each and every one of you, and one way or another, people up there in the podium I have volunteered with, I have collaborated with, or I have seen many of you volunteer out there in the community, not just downtown, but just all through the city, so thank you. And the reason why I'm here is because we do an annual coat drive. As a community organizer with advocacy, mobilization, and as an organizer, you have to have thick skin, no matter what the situation might be, regardless if it's cold, if it's hot, or frigid days like today. But we do our annual coat drive each and every year, the beginning of January. And our coat drive is located at Dr. Martin Luther King Park. We decide to do that coat drive, and it was just a quick phone call back in 2016. I told my colleague, I was like, hey, Margie, let's do something the beginning of the year. Besides all the holidays are coming and the end of the year, New Year's party, etc., I said, let's do something that we can give, but with the assistance of volunteerism. And dedication and leadership. So 2017 came across, and the first week of January, Dr. Martin Luther King Park, a lot of loving souls, that some of the souls are no longer here with us. Either they moved away or they passed away. But the following year, that's when a huge tragedy in Kalamazoo occurred. It was in March 2018 that we lost two pillars in our community. And some of you might heard Maria Muñiz and Juan Muñiz. They opened up the doors for over 40 years of volunteerism in our community. So I reached out to Margie. I'm like, hey, we're going to do this one more year, but let's give it a name. I knew Juan Muñiz very well. He was a huge, huge mentor of mine. And the way they both lost their life in an instant, that's when I told Margie, I'm like, Juan was a visionary. So let's name our little two-person community volunteers here. Let's just name our little group Impact Visions. Impact Visions have grown quite a bit. We only do this one time a year because we have a very, very busy schedule. I wear a lot of hats in the community in Southwest Michigan, but I don't forget how it used to be in the mid-'80s, how it used to be very, very strong and very difficult. I was only 9 years of age, so there's a lot of things that have changed now. And everybody has, in their palm of their hands, they have a lot of resource, a lot of help, a lot of organizations. And till today, we're just a volunteer group. We're not a nonprofit organization. We're not a 501c3. We're just a volunteer group that we volunteer through the Southwest Michigan. So we have delivered more than 2,700 items in just literally 7 days. If you're really looking at it, in 3 hours time. But during the summer, what we do is we take care of our migrant farm workers that are located in Southwest Michigan, and a big, big population down there. So just want to welcome January 5th, 2025 at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. You're more than welcome. We're still accepting contributions. You can find me on social media. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jody Dozeman. I'm here from, I live in Kalamazoo at Lodge House, and man, has it gotten a lot better there. Thank you. It's nice to be somewhere, and I'm almost caught up. But thoughts matter. I believe there's truth to them. I believe there's guidance to them, and I believe amazing things come from them. So I've been just exploring some ideas on patents with all the business you guys do. So I brought a little guidance, a little bit of studies. I had something happen at KVCC with a lock and key. And it's an amazing story. When I have more time, maybe I'll come up and talk about it. I'm a little shy. But I've had some great stories, and the idea of the spaceship stays with me. And I believe in Israel, someday there will be the birth of a spaceship. It's just a matter of time and seeing if things will pull together. And I'm not positive about it, but I believe the positivity to it and the reality that could come from it. So all I can do is pray and hope, and maybe more will come that I could stand up to you guys and talk about. In the meantime, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Hanukkah. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
This is the first time I ever did this, so just be patient with me. My name is Margie. My real name is Margaret Therese Deonda, but I'm Margaret Deonda Magayon. Born and raised on the north side of Kalamazoo, 69 years ago. I've been here all my life. I retired from Western Michigan University. I'm actually Daniel Ortepessa's partner with the coat drive. My mom actually named me Margaret Therese after a nun that she worked with at Borges Hospital, and she got killed in a car accident. So I feel that she left that giving heart in my heart. So that's why I love doing everything in the community. I do fundraisers through my home for people who have had deaths, sickness, and because I'm the best Mexican food in Kalamazoo, authentic. So they know I have a lot of customers. So I raise anywhere from $400 to $600, $800 per day just through orders for people to help them out, in their deaths. And the tamale queen of Kalamazoo, I can make, and I do them all by myself. So I can do 20 to 30 dozen in one day by myself. But anyways, I love giving. When we have family get-togethers and we have leftovers, I gather them up. I go down to the Ministry of Community and donate it to the homeless house down there. And one time we had a little cake left over, and I took it down there, and the one girl, she was like, "Oh, my birthday was yesterday, thank you so much." So it's just the little things that they deserve respect, they deserve love, and they deserve a hello. So that's why we also do the coat drive too. Whether it's freezing 0 degrees, I'ma still be out there. And I just turned 69, so that's why I said I have that giving heart. So everybody in Kalamazoo pretty knows Mama Margie. I work for part-time New Genesis Learning Center, and all the little kids, Mama Margie, can I get a hug? And just that one hug makes a difference in the community. It doesn't matter if it's a 1-year-old or a 30-year-old. A smile, a hug does not cost anything. So that's why I love what I do within this community. And I love the coat drive. This is our 8th annual coat drive, just through donations. We have people making hot chili for us to give out to them, socks, gloves, hats. I just love my community. That's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Matt Milzark, City resident. It's great to see you all. Here speaking on 2 different items, although one is just really quick. I see there are some housing items on the consent agenda. Just wanted to thank you in advance for the hopeful passage of that. I know all the different housing agencies in the community really appreciate the continued support from the city. But the big reason I'm here tonight is to ask a favor of you all, commissioners and staff. For those who are not up to speed, KPS is planning to move El Sol from the core of our city, Vine neighborhood, to the edge of the school district in Eastwood in the township. You know, there's a process around that that's been a little frustrating, and I can definitely say has not involved the public. So I'm here asking you to use your political power as community members. I'm obviously well aware that you have no control at all over KPS or any decision there, but you are community leaders with very loud and respected voices. And I'm asking that you reach out to anyone you may know on the school board, or probably more importantly, KPS administration, and say, let's just take this decision back to square one and evaluate it with the community. Maybe it's the right move, maybe it isn't. That information can't be sussed out in a 1-week process between the public knowing and decisions being made. And obviously you all know that really can't be done in a month either, you know, particularly when that month is the holidays. So yeah, you know, just really, like I said, asking that you reach out and ask them to pause and reevaluate the decision to get more input, and that takes time. You know, I thought back to my time on the commission, and when the city staff paused some projects, I think of the roundabout on Harrison, a lot of feedback from the community, a lot of frustration, and city staff said, we'll pause it. We know that kicks the project out a year, but we want to get it right. We want to make sure the community is comfortable with it. So let's take the time to do it right. That's a standard that you all set at the city, and I'm really proud to have seen that from the city. So yeah, just encouraging you to ask the same of KPS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gwendolyn Hooker. Good evening, Mayor Anderson, City Manager Ritzma, Vice Mayor Hess, and all of you lovely commissioners. I actually am not here asking for anything this time. I am just here to spread cheer and actually, you know, really wholeheartedly say thank you to all of you that really made a dream come true for a lot of people. The Tiny Houses of Hope project, we had our ribbon cutting last Thursday, which I'm sure many of you all know, many of you were there, and we are just so overwhelmed with emotions and feelings to really have had the support of the city of Kalamazoo from the very, very beginning. Everyone knows it was a very laborious, intensive process with having a whole pandemic smack dab in the middle of it, and you all stuck with this project. You continued to earmark money that you promised years ago and figured out a way to make your promise of actually allocating funding for that project, which was very instrumental. And it is just so overwhelming for us to finally be able to say that, you know, those homes are going to be occupied very, very soon. And we are just super, super excited to have had you all support. And really, I wanted to come and personally thank you and really express our wholehearted appreciation for a dream realized. I mean, this started out as a thought, just something that I imagined could happen in little old Kalamazoo, something that had never been done. I seen it in Detroit, and I felt like this was a great place for it to happen. And so all of the pieces came into place, my higher power, many community supporters, and the funding, which definitely is, a pivotal part of the process. And I'm just super excited, super grateful for everyone's help and support during this whole, I don't know, it's been almost 7 years, but they turned out absolutely just beautiful. And we're really looking forward to, we've already received 37 applications. There's only 3 houses, so it really leads way to some other things that we have in the works, but really grateful. And I wanted you to know that, Hope Through Navigation is super appreciative of all of the support, not just from the fundings aspect, but many of y'all have come into fundraisers. Many of y'all have donated food. You've showed up and volunteered. It wasn't just about, giving us the funding. It was also about really putting, your feeling and belief and support and time behind a project that you felt was worthy. And we really appreciate it, because these homes are specifically designated for the population that we serve, which are people with criminal backgrounds and or substance use disorder history, which we know are people that are normally at the bottom of the list for housing. In this case, these folks are going to be at the top of the list. So we're really super grateful. Thank you so very much. Have a happy holiday, and we look forward to many things to come in year 2025. God bless.
Thank you very much, Gwendolyn. Is there anyone else who would like to take an opportunity to speak this evening?
Hi, I'm Morgan. I live up on the north side. Just hearing everybody talking about their volunteer opportunities, I thought I'd express one. The organization I'm part of is called Trash Love Kalamazoo, or Trash Love KZoo. It's an organization that is picking up trash around Kalamazoo. We have an event the first Saturday of every month, even in this cold. We had one at the beginning of December. We had 20 people show up, and we picked up a lot of trash over at Blanche Hall Park. So we are always hoping for more members. Our next trash pickup is January 4th, so if you want to come out, we totally would love some extra hands to pick up trash. And the city has been helping out. We have really appreciated it. The city manager's been providing trash bags and gloves, and also pickup after we've done all the cleanup. They come in with a truck and pick it up. We really appreciate that so much. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that wants to provide a public comment this evening?
Hi, my name is Shona Espinoza. We need a shelter. We need a day shelter. We need a night shelter. Our students are getting ready to go on break for 2 weeks after this week, and can you just imagine that instead of going to school all day, they're going to be having to sit outside all day until they can go to the mission, or hopefully that their parents can find them something warm. But even at nighttime, there should be a 24-hour shelter. It's cold out here. I mean, it's freezing out here. Might not be as cold as it's been, but can you just imagine how it was last week where they had a snow day? There's a warming shelter, but do you really think that especially our littler ones want to sit there all day and not be able to have space of their own? Or because we got to look at it like this, that these kids didn't ask to be out on the street. It's something has happened along the line within what their parents is going through or their guardian is going through. So are we supposed to punish the kids because their parents did wrong, or they're in this situation because housing literally is expensive? Rent is too damn high. Not only that, but there's so many barriers that are in place to prevent people from getting housing. And so because their parents don't qualify or can't get or something, whatever is going on, the kids are suffering. So they're out here, then they're having to attend school. I don't know how many kids a day that I see that they're tired. They're extremely wore out from being out on the street or sleeping in the Mission. Yes, some can sleep in the Mission, but can you just imagine being at the Mission and all the things that are going on that we kind of see out on the streets that are inside the building? Like, that's traumatizing for them. There's something that we should be able to do and provide. They didn't ask for this. This is something that is brought upon them because there's a situation going on within their family. So, yes, I get that many of us be like, okay, they're adults, suck it up. But what about the kids? That's unfair in so many ways. Babies, infants, and even our vets are disabled and those that are going through mental health and things like that. They need help. Many don't even know about many of the services. And then even if you think about it, a lot of ours that are dealing with mental health, there's barriers within their self because it's not like they're going out their way and be like, well, I'm just going to mess this up. It's something that's going on, and those are the people that really don't get the needs that they need. So we need more services out here. We need services within this downtown area and those that are unhoused accessible all day and even at nighttime. Yes, we have a 24-hour mental health facility, but is it fully staffed? Is it accessible? We need to be able to have a 24-hour shelter and these services within it so they don't have to like find a way to go here or find a way to go there and not all the services being in one building. It needs to be accessible and not having barriers up, especially for our kids. If we can get these adults where they need to be, we don't have to worry about traumatizing our kids and them going through the same cycle over and over and over. I work for KPS and I live with my dad, and so does my son and my kids sometimes, because rent is too damn high. And for me to work for KPS, I shouldn't have to worry about if my bills are going to get paid. And like right now, I'm trying to make sure that my mom has a celebration from passing 3 weeks ago. So it's like, we need to realize things happen for people to be out on the streets. So think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Tina. I live in Kalamazoo. I am from Kalamazoo. Sometimes it makes it hard to get down here for I work 2 jobs. It's really hard to find parking spots a lot of times out there too. I wish you'd bring back public comments where you could call in and people could address their concerns. Because there's a lot of people that can't make it down here. There's a lot of people that don't drive, that their concerns should matter too. I've been coming down here for 7 years. 7 years asking you to save our last natural green space, Lake to Stockbridge. And Mr. Anderson, your Hawthorne project could go at the old DHS building right across the street from this green space and save this natural green space and not cause any more flooding to the homeowners and businesses. We've already lost 3 because of the construction and the flooding issues that are never fixed. I've owned my home for 38 years. I have paid taxes all those years. Don't know why you never fix anything in my neighborhood. All you do in my neighborhood is build and make flooding worse. It's time to stop destroying natural spaces. It's time to stop destroying green spaces, trees. We need them to survive. It should not always be about big buildings and about the money. It should be about people. And you're here for the people. You're supposed to be listening to the people. You also have a lot of residents that can't afford your rent. I know a lot of families who have children living in cars and sleeping in apartment hallways, and that's very scary to them. And only meal they have is the meal they get at school. When is someone going to start caring before someone freezes to death? This is winter. It's time to have a heart and care. You are part of the city, and you only care about money. You never have any money to fix things, but you sure have money to build a lot of things. And a lot of you are landlords. So you are part of the problem. Rent is too high. Crime is too bad. No one is safe in Kalamazoo. People are going to freeze to death. Kalamazoo is not a nice place to live anymore, and I'm from here. And there is so much conflict of interest on all these boards, it's ridiculous. The flooding in my neighborhood, it starts from the city of Kalamazoo storm drains, flood out the streets. Only floods out the south side of town and the north side of town, but we are both poor neighborhoods. This is one of the reasons you won't fix flooding here. We're not a rich neighborhood. So nothing gets fixed for us. We just keep hoping and praying that our homes don't end up underwater. Because if this green space goes away, our homes will be underwater, just like at Upjohn Park. So 38 years of living in my home, taking care of my home and everything around it. And us neighbors, we take care of each other. When we're trapped, one of us wades out and gets food for us. The police station's even trapped. How are they supposed to get out to help anybody? They're underwater too. You're fixing flooding, but you're fixing it in the wrong neighborhood. You're fixing the flooding downtown that's been fixed years ago. It doesn't flood downtown anymore. It floods on the two poorest neighborhoods there is, south side of town and the north side of town. It's time, guys, come on. Our city is falling apart. It's a mess. There's so many issues and so much going on. There's so many people suffering. I know a lot of little kids that are homeless. I'm a lunch lady. I know a lot of kids that only eat what they eat at school, and I help them any way I can. But it's time. We got to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Charles Hanna. I know some of us are maybe a little older than others. I say that for a reason because, in 1992, that was a very important year for Kalamazoo, simply because, when once Singler took office, several things were criminalized, fleeing and looting, child support, things of that nature. A lot of this contributed to quadrupling the homeless population. Because not only that, every state hospital was shut down except for one. I remember when Kevin Hessinger, some of you may remember that name, college student. Think he's coming home, see his parents. Gets off the train, comes into our train station. And didn't make it. These are real things. They're not games. Most of what we're seeing out here has mental health illness written all over it. But you guys, you're the ones. You guys get the power, and I remember, for COVID, and I was worried, because even now we still only have the one public restroom, and you guys don't even want to know what happens in that restroom, at night, It's very dangerous out here. And a lot of people, they don't have anyone. There's no one fending for them. I mean, no one. Wrap your mind around that, It's not a game. It's a real thing. Just imagine that, if you will. So some of us, we don't come out. You think we're assholes? You think we're just coming out here for shits and giggles? No. Telling you. And it's going to come to your doorsteps. All of ours. We can't escape this. If all of us don't make it, none of us will. Do you realize that?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to provide a public comment this evening? Seeing no one, then we are, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name Darius Williams, and this is my first time attending a city meeting. And I grew up on the north side. You know, I grew up on the north side. I'm 40 years old. I'm born and raised here. And I just want to. I'm here at this meeting for my first time today, and I'm just trying to see what type of change I can make, or I'm trying to see what's going on. I'm trying to be a change. I'm trying to be used. I'm trying to bring different differences, you know, within my community. You know, I mean, I see like good things been going on, you know, from when I was younger or whatnot. But I'm just trying to see like what's going on within like Kalamazoo. You know, like I said, it's my first time here at one of these meetings, and I'm just trying to, you know, just trying to see how I just be trying to see better things, trying to give opinions. Like I like sports and stuff like that. I like to see activities for the kids when they get out of school. Activities more, you know, where they more active. You know, more things going on within the community. North side, east side, west side, and the south side throughout Kalamazoo. We want more, you know, we need more like more events, more, you know, opportunities, you know, for the youth, you know, because to keep their minds more positive, you know, more focused. You know, I mean, I'm trying to see how I could be, like I'm here at this meeting. I'm just trying to see like, what type of help you guys offer, and what type of help I'm going to get, you know, by attending these meetings. And, you know, I be wanting to see like more of us coming together within our communities and keeping our communities clean. You know, it could be a whole lot of us just coming, just keeping our communities clean. You know, wherever we live at, you know, just keeping our stuff more cleaner, you know, and just more working together with one another, understanding our minds more. But I'm just here, like I said, it's my first time here at this meeting, and I'm just trying to see, what's going on with the peoples. You know, I'm a people's person. I'm from my peoples, and I really do see like a lot of good things can really happen here, but it's all on the peoples though, because if the world not gonna do nothing without the peoples, you know, it's all on the people. So if the peoples ain't willing to try to make a difference or get an understanding how we can make a difference or whatnot, you know, they may lose out. But you know, I know that, you know, the world is nothing gonna do nothing without the peoples. But yeah, I'm going to attend more of the meetings, because I heard y'all say something about some volunteering work or whatnot. I just want to see what's going on within Kalamazoo, you know. But like I say, I mean, I've been noticing some good stuff going on here, but I also noticed like it's got to be more people coming together. We got to have more unity. We got to have more togetherness here, because this homelessness stuff is like crazy. You know, I've been homeless for over 5 years.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Hello. My name is Chase Platty. I'm a Kalamazoo resident, and I'm here because there needs to be more of an urgency about the situation going on right now in Kalamazoo, especially with housing and with food insecurity. I think most of us know how big the issue is and how serious the situation is right now. And I'm grateful to the community who came up here to share about the resources and the volunteering and how the community is coming together to support each other. It's really, really strong. But I'm asking this commission to take concrete steps to also pass changes that will change the situation in the city, because there is an unacceptable number of people who are unhoused, people who are being evicted, people who are not able to afford rent, people who are having to work 2 jobs to afford a place to live, people who are having to be in situations that they don't want to be in to afford to pay a place to live. It is a really serious situation out here. And I wanted to congratulate Gwendolyn Hooker and the Hope Through Navigation project. It is really impressive, and we need extreme help. We need more than 4 houses. And I just wanted to encourage you to continue listening to the community who is coming here to ask to be involved and to ask to give input and to ask questions about what this commission and what this city is doing to help the people that it's responsible to, and help the people that we're supposed to serve and be caring about, all of our community, not just people who can afford to live in a nice fancy development for $900, $1,200 a month. Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves to be recognized by their city, to be recognized by their community, and this community doesn't have enough options for if someone says, hey, I need help. What can I do? Like, where should I go? Where are the options? Where is the liaisons? Where is the go-to people? Where someone to connect to resources? Like yes, there are nonprofits and resources in the community, but they are spread thin because of the direness of this crisis. So I would like the commission to keep housing and also prioritizing green spaces and not developing irresponsibly over green spaces that we need and that this community counts on to live and survive. And I would also like to ask that you please bring back call-in public comments. It is essential for everyone in the community to have an opportunity to call in and to have input and to participate in discussions and in business meetings. So please bring back the option to call in, because not everyone can get here at 7 p.m. on a Monday. And could you please reinstate policy 10.1 and the ability to remove an item for public comment and to bring it up for discussion from the consent agenda. And Commissioner Hess, if you could please remove item 5 from the consent agenda and bring it up for discussion in the regular agenda, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. All right, seeing no one, now is the opportunity for us to move on our agenda to the public hearings. Manager Ritzma.
The following items have been presented for approval this evening. First, approval of a contract extension with Rathco Safety Supply Incorporated for sign.
Do we have the public hearing first, or?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, let's have a public hearing.
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
So, yes, item F1, we have a public hearing to receive comments on the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget for the city of Kalamazoo. And before I call up our Chief Financial Officer, Steve Asensi, I just want to recognize that a change has occurred in the budget from when we met last week. Commissioners Hoffman and Decker brought forward a suggestion that we set money aside for unhoused funding to for the creation of emergency shelter space. The staff is proposing $500,000 in the 2025 budget for this purpose. And the money that would be allocated will be coming from an ARPA program that we had budgeted for but aren't required to fund it. That's the undue medical debt reform. The county completely covered that, and we had $330,000 in ARPA funding to provide for that. And so that combined with ARPA interest, we feel like we can carve out $500,000 in the budget for the purpose of unhoused emergency shelter space. So with that, I will invite our CFO, Steve Asensi, to come forward and just give a general overview.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor. I'm just going to run through kind of some of the highlights from the budget. Last week we had our budget work session, which went a little bit further into detail, and then we've had our budget book posted online since November 15th, which allows people an interactive view of the budget and to get into, more and more of the details of what each department has allocated in their budget. So just stepping a little bit further back than that, the process started back in February with your commissioner retreat, which really set forward our priorities for this year. In September, you approved the final allocations for the ARPA funding from the federal government, which has to be fully obligated by the end of this year, we have a budget amendment on the consent agenda tonight to allow us some flexibility in making sure that we get that, have that fully obligated and don't have to send any funding back to the federal government. And then, as I said, we had our public work session last week, and then tonight we have the public hearing with anticipated requested approval on January 6th. And then just to kind of go over some of the highlights from the budget, total budget of $388 million, with a general fund budget of $85 million, and a majority of that increase coming from capital improvement, with $180 million in capital improvements across all of our funds, with one major program, $110 million set aside for a state drinking water revolving fund, which includes a lower interest rate that will save tens of millions of dollars down the road in interest, and also has the ability for grant and loan forgiveness. The general fund budget, or the general budget, supports 713 positions and 5 part-time positions. It also continues our millage rate at 12 mills and 1.8 mills for solid waste. And then our general fund balance is projected to remain above our 15% of operating revenues throughout our 5-year fiscal plan, showing that we have a sustainable budget going forward. And then just beyond that, I would just like to thank the city manager's office, all of our department directors, their staff for the amount of work that goes into creating this budget over the last 9 months. And then also specifically, Tanya Hewitt-Smith, Carrie Williams, and Stephanie Redant, who were on our peer review team. Those are our DEI director, our grants manager, and our budget manager, who put a ton of time and effort into reviewing all of the requests to help build the budget each year. And so with all that, I will turn it back over to you to receive public comments on the budget.
Thank you so much. Just a moment here, Mr. Vicenci. So just as a reminder, we did have a long committee of the whole conversation where we worked through this budget in more depth, number one. Number two, where is the complete detailed version of the budget, and how is that available to people?
Sure. You can find that on kalamazooCity.org/budgets. And so then you click into the link for the 2025 budget. We also have the recording of our work session from last week on that website as well, and then also prior year budgets if you want to go back and compare further.
Is that an interactive kind of a link? Can you search in that link? How is that accessible?
Yep. So if you click the link for the 25 budget, you will see a table of contents that will provide links to each individual page. We have some pages that are summaries of the overall budget. We have individual fund summaries, such as the general fund, our water fund, and some other major funds. We also have the budget broken down by department. And so within each one of those links, you also have graphs and charts that you can click into further for detail. You can change those graphs from pie graphs to bar graphs, 1 year to multi-year, and get further and further down into the drill down of that detail of each budget. And additionally, this year, our budget book is powered by Google Translate, so you can view it in a multitude of different languages as well.
All right, fantastic. So a lot of information there, a lot of opportunity to search around that budget online. That all said then, commissioners, are there any questions for staff? Yeah, Vice Mayor Hess.
Hi, Steve. Really quickly, as you just heard commenter Chase talk about ask to remove consent agenda item number 5, where you just briefly spoke about it, that it provides flexibility in our use of our ARPA funds. But if you could do that, because we've already approved the budget, we're not going to be able to remove that. Could you kind of speak to that and about Chase's concern about approval of a budget amendment to reallocate ARPA funds for various projects?
Sure. So the ARPA funding is required to be obligated by 12/31 of this year. There are funds that, we have contracts in place. The majority of that funding is already obligated and encumbered. There are pieces that as we are spending, we need a little bit of flexibility that the federal government has written into the rules what's called the revenue replacement category, which allows us to obligate those funds and meet that contract definition at that point. And so as we're spending the funds, it's going to be tough at year end because our first report for 12/31 is due January 15th. That doesn't give us time to collect all of our invoices and record everything properly. So having this flexibility to kind of change to a cash basis for a moment, which is all the invoices that were spent as of 12/31 will kind of be our final spend date on that report. And then anything remaining, we would then obligate using revenue replacement. And then we would continue these programs over the next 2 years to ensure that all the funds are spent in the intended categories. I just want to be very clear that budget amendment does not change any of the programs that have been already approved by commission. It's just giving us flexibility to change the federal reporting category.
Thank you, Steve.
Very helpful. Other questions for Mr. Vicente this time? Yes, Commissioner Pradle.
Steve, thanks for being here tonight. One question I wanted to ask you is, so I've been on commission for just about 5 years. I remember starting 5 years ago, we were sitting in somewhere like 660 some staff members with the city. And this year, proposed in the budget is 713 full-time, 5 part-time positions. And it's pretty significant growth for us, kind of a resurgence, if you will, of capacity to do the work that we're set out to do. And I was just wondering if you could just talk about that growth and the sustainability of that and what is kind of the areas that we've seen the greatest growth in terms of those positions.
Yeah, so if I kind of rewind, a few years here, about 5 years ago, our budget was somewhere around 200 million. So we're almost double where we were at that time. So we've seen significant, growth and need for growth in a number of areas. We have, added positions to our police department, our public safety department. They've added a number of positions over that 5 years. We've added positions to our utilities, which is needed to kind of meet the new standards of the day. PFAS requirements are getting tighter, other environmental responsibility needs within our utilities, and then just the larger capital plan because that is a system that needs more and more investment to keep up the standard and also just continue to provide healthy water. And so to meet those demands, we've needed to increase staffing in those areas. And as far as sustainability, we always look. We have a 5-year plan. The general fund is projected to stay within its target fund balance over the 5 years. So that's one place we really watch. We also watch our other funds as well as we're going through those things. But the city has grown significantly over those 5 years. I also believe, if I'm correct, the general fund budget used to be somewhere around 60 million 5 years ago. So 20-some million, and our number one thing that we do is services. We don't manufacture, we don't create a lot of things. We create services, and we work for our community.
For sure. Yeah, I thought it would just be helpful for people to know that, because to see that growth in employees, we just want to make sure that people realize that's sustainable capacity building, for the work that we're doing as well. And the other question I had for you as well is just in terms of trends with property taxes. It's projected, I think, a 4.4% increase in 2025 budget in terms of property tax revenue for the city, which is one of the largest shares of revenue that we see. are there any trends that you anticipate seeing in the coming year or the years to come that you think could impact budget?
So, the past, we are limited by how property taxes can grow. We're capped at a CPI index. So this year that index trends at 3.1%. So that's a majority of that growth. And then the additional percentage, sales on cappings, when a house sells, property taxes, get brought back up to current value, or other growth that may happen within the city boundaries. And so, we're really kind of seeing more of a return to normal. You look at the past 2 to 3 years, we're seeing 5, 6, 7% growth in property taxes. We're now returning back to that 3, 4% that we've historically been at, and that's kind of where I believe we'll trend for a while.
We also saw some, development projects that are coming online as well. Like the hotel project on Portage Road, the apartment complex that's going on in West Michigan Avenue as well. I think it's something like $40-some thousand of property tax revenue will now become, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars of property tax revenue from that property over the course of some time. So,
yeah, and some of those depend on other programs, whether it's a brownfield program or it's within one of our downtown TIF districts. So the city may see benefit in other ways through like our Downtown Economic Growth Authority, being able to provide more services for downtown by capturing those taxes. But a lot of times when you see something happening downtown, that funding does not come to the city's general fund, or at least not in the short term.
Right. The other question I had for you as well is just in terms of revenue sharing from the state. I see that's up just slightly in 2025 projection budget, but was just wondering if you're anticipating any trends or changes with that in the foreseeable future.
Again, just kind of return to normal. A large proponent of revenue sharing is, state sales tax. So, the past few years, there was, extra funding floating around the grants and economic initiatives happening that saw increased spending in the state. I think, again, we're kind of leveling off there a bit to where we're getting back to norms on 2-3% growth on revenue sharing. One other area that the state did provide was they did put together a public safety trust fund. So in our budget, we're anticipating $1.8 million coming from that trust fund, which is kind of an offshoot of revenue sharing from the state. So we did see a significant increase there.
For sure. And then the other question I had for you, just wondering if you could speak to a little bit as well is, we've got a $388 million budget this year. It's a 35% increase from the 2024 budget. It's pretty significant. I think if you were from an outsider looking at this, you're like, wow, it's a lot of, significant increase of spending here. And, is this commission out of control, that sort of thing. But I think, you've done a really good job of explaining, and certainly Director Baker has done so, about the capital improvement opportunities we have from, federal sources, low interest opportunities, from state as well. And I'm just wondering, when you think about all this funding coming in, it requires a lot of staff resources to support all those, everything from grant writers that have to do frequent grant reporting to your team that is, developing budgetary reports and that sort of thing. And I guess my question for you is, as we're evolving here and as ARPA comes to the end, this year we have to have everything allocated, 2026 we have to spend all the money. And then as you start to see that we spend through and complete these massive undertaking capital improvement projects, I guess my question for you is what do you see changing in terms of like the internal staff and capacity in that new norm, if you will?
Yeah, so, kind of looking at the budget, the budget proposes 12 new positions. 7 of those are in our utility system to help continue that work. A majority of the other ones, we're looking at also internal positions. So it wasn't in the budget necessarily, but we did add recently added another grants compliance specialist. That's someone that will help us with these millions of dollars grants funds that are coming in to make sure that we're doing the proper reporting, we're tracking the funds properly, and then maintaining our eligibility for future grant funds. We also propose bringing in a second budget person. That's something that we haven't had before, but with the growth in the budget and the timelines, getting that extra help internally is a significant help. And then, last year, looking back a little bit, we did bring in some other internal positions. We added a new purchasing staff, and we also added a new accounting staff to help, with all the work that has to happen behind the scenes to get the work that you see out on the streets or in the utility done. And one other thing I do want to call back to where you started, if we remove one capital program, we actually had a 3% decrease in our budget year over year. So really that one program, it's a massive program, project, but, and it is interest rate funded, it is grant funded. But if we do remove that, our overall budget was a slight decrease.
We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity or more to accomplish some pretty big things, and eventually somebody would have to pay for it. So it's good that we're able to tackle these when we have these opportunities available. And I think it brings up a really good point as well, just thanking our grants team and certainly your team who've really worked hard to tackle and find these opportunities when they become available. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other questions, team? All right, thank you so much, Mr. Sensei. Just as a reminder here, this is a public hearing. We're not taking any action on the budget this evening. This is a required step in the process for us to pass our budget. This is the budget for 2025, which, believe it or not, is right around the corner. And so we will be actually voting on this budget January 6th. Is that right, Manager Ritzma? On our first meeting in 2025, on Monday, January 6th. In addition, just a reminder, there is an opportunity. Please go look at the budget online that's available. There will be an opportunity for public comments on the evening of the 6th when we vote as well. Is there anyone here in the chambers that wants to make any comment during this public hearing?
Good evening to everybody. Toby Hannah Davies. But I'm speaking not just for me, but I think for all of the congregations and organizations that belong to Isaac, including some of your congregations. I want to thank you for the change in budget that you just announced. I think that's huge. Isaac has 30 congregation members, black and white, and everybody else, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Unitarian, and the two organizations are the NAACP local and the El Concilio Hispanic American Council. And I want to read to you the covenant that all those 30 congregations and organizations made to each other. This is just the opening of it. We enter into a deep promise as congregations and organizations. We commit ourselves to the pursuit of a just community. We are seeking to build a world where hope triumphs over fear, where God's abundance meets the needs of all, where we live in sacred and beloved community. So I want to thank all of you, most especially Commissioner Hoffman and Decker, for making that change to the budget for that $500,000 that you figured out where you could get it from, specifically for the people in this community that are unhoused. And I want to thank you from all of the congregation and organization members of Isaac, and I think everyone, when they understand that you have added that to the budget, you're going to get a lot of support, not just from religious faith traditions, but also from business people and residents all over. All of us see the pain in this community. It's so very obvious, and thank you, especially commissioners who made this change happen, for dedicating that part of the budget that you hadn't planned on originally to help the people who are unhoused. If there's any more you can do, the need is so great. And if there's any way you can reallocate further, this community as a whole, I believe, will be very grateful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to comment during this public hearing? Seeing no one, I want to thank everyone who is taking time to pay attention to the budget and came down here this evening to make a comment. Now I will close the public hearing. Which Manager Ritzma, you spent the last 6 months working on this budget. How
Yes.
could you roll past that consent agenda?
I am so sorry to Steve and staff
Yes.
and to you all.
So now we're on the consent agenda. Manager Ritzma.
Thank you. The following items are presented for approval. First is the approval of a contract extension with Rathco Safety Supply Incorporated for sign installation and maintenance services in the amount of $182,275. Next is the approval of a 3-year contract with HydroCorp LLC for administration of the Cross Connection Program in the amount of $205,200. Next is the adoption of a resolution approving a change in the street lighting contract with Consumers Energy for 335 Kalamazoo Avenue. Next is the adoption of a resolution approving 4 new Neighborhood Enterprise Zone (NEZ) homestead applications in the Vine neighborhood. Next is the approval of a budget amendment to reallocate American Rescue Plan Act funds for various projects. Next is the approval of a fiscal year 2024 year-end budget amendments. Next is the acceptance of a donation of recreation equipment from Sinclair Recreation for Verberg Park improvements with an estimated value of $43,177.95. Next is the approval of an amendment to the 2022 Home Energy Efficiency and Weatherization Grant Agreement with Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services for a budget increase of $9,500. Next is the approval of an agreement with Southwest Child Care Resources for a grant of ARPA funds in the amount of $132,000 for early child care business supports. Next is the approval of an agreement with the Kalamazoo County Land Bank for a grant of ARPA funds in the amount of $480,000 for the construction of housing units utilizing the city's pre-approved plans. Next is the approval of amendments to the Foundation for Excellence bylaws and articles of incorporation. Next is the approval of a public utility easement with Advia Credit Union for water main installed as part of the Advia Credit Union construction project. And finally, approval of a request from New Year's Fest of Kalamazoo to publicly display fireworks from the Epic Center parking structure on Tuesday, December 31, 2024 at midnight as part of the annual New Year's Fest event.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items 1 through 13 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradel.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Cooney. Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you, Commissioners. The items on the consent agenda are approved. Now we're at the regular agenda. Manager Ritzma.
Item H1 is approval of a contract extension with Salinas LLC for biosolids dewatering polymer in the amount of $1,321,910.37.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Is there a staff report on this item?
Our Public Services Director, James Baker, is available for any questions. Did you have a brief presentation or just available for questions? So, yeah, he's
available for questions. Commissioners, this is an item we have talked about often in the past. Are there questions, though, you have for Director Baker at this time? Seeing no questions, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item, particularly the contract extension for biosolids dewatering? Seeing no one, the recommended action, Commissioners, is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Hess.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Wilson. Thank you so much. Discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H2, City Manager Ritzma.
Approval of an agreement with the Downtown Economic Growth Authority the DEGA, to consolidate outstanding interfund loans in the amount of $1,060,000.
Thank you. Manager Ritzma, is there a staff report on this item?
Yeah, our CFO, Steve Vicenzi, is going to give a brief overview of items H2 and H3 as they are very similar.
Thank you so much, Manager Ritzma, and welcome back, Mr. Vicenzi.
Good evening. So yeah, just briefly kind of going over these items. They were approved earlier today by the DDA and DEGA boards. These are interfund loan agreements that we've had outstanding with those entities for a number of years. We've been in negotiations with them for the past year, kind of waiting on some other things to settle. So, just kind of going over the history a little bit is, we've supported those organizations and their operations, which allow, improvements to our downtown area with the idea that eventually these loans would get paid back. They've also had some other debts that they've been settling this year. And so this was a way that staff worked with them to find a way to continue their operations and their mission of improving the downtown area, and then also being able to pay back the city's general fund to, provide the funding back to us that we need to keep the city going. So like I said, this is kind of an agreement that allows payback over the next 10 years and kind of works for both parties, as we've seen the DEGA's TIF capture finally start to grow over the past few years, where I think about 4 or 5 years ago, we were looking at a base capture of 80-some thousand. Now we're looking at a base capture of $70,000, $100,000 a year. So they have the ability to maintain their mission and then pay back the funds to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Vicenzi. Questions on this particular item? Or I guess at this point you could ask about the two different, one's the DEGA, Downtown Economic Growth Authority, the other one's Downtown Development Authority, but otherwise a similar loan construct and promissory note. So questions about either one of those actions? Yeah, Commissioner Praedel.
So the interest rate on these is the 3.75, like market rate percentage?
Correct. We based that off of the 10-year Treasury. At the time we were discussing, it was about 4.1%, but we're anticipating, a number of decreases over the next year, so we felt that 3.75 was a fair rate.
And hypothetically speaking, if this wouldn't happen, and both DDA and DEGA would be at risk of, I guess it's called a definite, I've needed to file a deficit elimination plan with the state of Michigan, so this would prevent that risk from being a possibility.
Correct. This would, move some of their short-term liabilities to long-term, which gets rid of that deficit elimination plan, which, not the place you want to be. It's a plan that you have to file with the state. They then have to approve whether they agree or not with how you plan to get out of your deficit, and then they're more involved in your operations than we would typically like them to be.
And then just out of curiosity, you kind of mentioned a little bit about the history, but can you talk about how the pandemic years, I guess, also played a role in getting to this point as well?
Sure. So, kind of going back to DEGA's first capture, I believe was 2019. We had some pretty robust anticipation of what that would be. In their first year of capture, there was a major building downtown that was demolished, which brought the property tax value on that virtually down to zero, which really set back their capture from day one. And then every year that they tried to gain a little bit of steam, we had some properties go exempt, so remove from the tax roll, reset their capture a bit. And then I would say that with what happened to the pandemic, what happened with housing over the past few years, you've seen property taxes increase. That increases their capture, and that's kind of early setbacks, but then they've been able to regrow over the past couple of years.
Good questions. Other questions, Commission? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So, Commissioners, this action is related specifically to the Downtown Economic Growth Authority, related to consolidating outstanding interfund loans in the amount of $1,060,000. Is there a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry. I need to have comments. Now is the opportunity for public comments on this item. Getting ahead of myself. Thank you, Attorney. Indispensable. Seeing no one. All right. Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Hoffman.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Praedel. Discussion, Commissioners? Commissioner Praedel?
It's just one of these necessary things we have to run a city, right? I mean, it's less than ideal that you run into these situations, but we got to make sure that we have a strong, vibrant community. So these are the things we do, right?
Okay. Yeah. Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I do apologize. I do have a question I actually want to ask. Mr. Vicenzi, it's, or maybe some of us up here know the answer. So this is going to take effective December 31st of this year. But they're not going to be starting to pay back until 2026. I guess, is there a reason for the delay in that? Is that to help them pay off some of the other debts that they have? Why is it 2026 versus 2025?
That was exactly it. They have another debt that they've recently settled that they need to start their payoff on in that as well. This gives them that extra year to see, continued tax capture growth, where the board felt more comfortable. If they had one more year, they could then adequately pay us back, pay the other party back, and continue their operations as normal. We will accrue interest during that year, so it will allow us to maintain our revenue that we would expect done otherwise if we had the money in our bank accounts.
Okay, thank you for that. And, this is definitely an organization that we don't want to see go away because it does do so much for the development for the downtown area and to really make it robust and to do some of the projects that we want to do downtown. So, thanks.
Thank you. Other questions, commissioners? All right, scene one. Since one of these seats, I just want to follow up on this. One of the seats that, as by designation, the mayor sits on is also a board member of DAGA and DDA. There was one discrepancy noted in terms of start dates. Was that addressed in what were the specifics of these motions? I think one of them accidentally said starting in 24, and the other one said starting in 26.
Yes, the DDA's lawyer did contact me about that. We would consider that kind of like a Scribner's error. So we'll have that updated in the final agreements before they're signed.
Okay, thanks so much. Appreciate that. Any other questions? All right.
Mayor, just based on what Steve said about that being like a Scribner error, is there anything, city attorney, that we need to do in terms of either of these? Or is it just kind of, if that's recognized, that's good enough?
I think as part of the motion to add to correct the error in that the date that's been discussed in here, that would cure it as part of the motion.
Do we know whether it's related to the DDA or the DEGA that had the error? I can't recall.
I'm going to look to Steve Vicenzi on that.
I got to pull that back up. I believe it was the DDA that said 2026.
That's the next item.
We're supposed to both say 26 when the payment starts.
So, and I think that was one of the back and forths I was having with their legal as well was, we want the loan agreement to begin December 31, 2024, payment to begin 2026.
I believe it was the language of the motion.
Yep, and she was okay with 2024. Just double checking, she just emailed me back recently. Yep, and it was the DDA that should be 24, not 26.
Okay, so for those that made the motion, what is the corrective language we want to be included in this motion?
For H2, if I understood Vicenzi correctly, that is 2026 is for H2, which is the DAGA repayment schedule.
No, it would be, the DDA said 26, it should say 24.
Okay, then.
So it's item H3 would need.
So this
correction.
motion stands, we'll have to expand the motion slightly when we move to H3 then.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to confuse matters, but. Do we have a motion? Remind me where we are here. Yes. Okay. Any other discussion, Commissioner Decker? No? Okay. Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradle?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H3. City Manager Ritzma.
Approval of an agreement with the Downtown Development Authority to consolidate outstanding interfund loans in the amount of $1,070,680.
Thank you, Manager Risma. In essence, we already had the staff report on this. Any additional questions for staff from Commission on this item? Basically the same deal, different entity, but okay. Seeing none, is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to comment on this particular item, item H3? All right, seeing no one, then Commissioners, is there a motion to approve the agreement with the DDA, item H3?
Support.
Motion made by Commissioner Decker. Let's provide the clarifying language then. Are you set with that, Attorney Leo?
Yes. Okay. Do you want me to make the motion? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Tell us.
I think what you're looking for is to make a motion to approve the item as presented, with the exception that the loan start date is 2026, or the repayment start date is 2026 in lieu of in place of 2024. Is that correct, Vicenci? No.
I think the loan starts in 24 and the repayment starts in 26.
Yes. The repayment.
Yes, that was correct. It was the loan to commence in 2024 with the repayment in 2026.
Correct. So it's basically approve the agreement as presented, with the loan to begin in 2024 and the repayment in 2026.
Yes.
You good with that, Commissioner Decker?
I believe so. Make a motion to keep the item as is, but adding the language or correcting the language to have the loan commence in 2024 and payments begin in 2026.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. And is there support for that? Support by Commissioner Hoffman. Discussion, Commissioners? All right, seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call a roll.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H4, City Manager Risma.
Approval of an agreement with the Kalamazoo Community Foundation for an ARPA grant in the amount of $1.5 million for the RX Kids Kalamazoo pilot.
Thank you, Manager Risma. Is there a report on this item?
Yes, our Shared Prosperity Kalamazoo coordinator, Kevin Ford, is going to give a brief overview of this item.
Welcome, Mr. Ford. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Hey, thank you all. I'm going to set up my notes real quick. Thank you, City Manager Ritzma, City Commissioners, Vice Mayor, Mayor, and community members for allowing me time to share this agenda item and this exciting opportunity for our community. Before I start, I'd like to preface my statements by reading an excerpt from our recent Economic Development Plan that was approved by City Commission October of this year. And I quote, "At the heart of Kalamazoo's approach is a strong focus on equitable economic development and community wealth building. The city's highest priority is ensuring that economic growth translates into real opportunities for its residents, allowing them to share in the prosperity of development. Kalamazoo aims to create a more inclusive and thriving community by prioritizing these values." End quote. RX Kids Kalamazoo embodies our commitment to equitable economic development and community wealth building by addressing systemic barriers to economic security and fostering long-term opportunities for residents. By providing cash stipends to every child born in Kalamazoo, RX Kids directly invest in the financial stability of families, particularly those most vulnerable to economic hardships, creating the opportunity for lifelong success. In alignment with Kalamazoo's priority of ensuring that our efforts translate into tangible benefits for its residents, RX Kids Kalamazoo equips families with the resources to access what they see as important to meet their needs as well as improved health outcomes. These investments enable residents to participate more fully in the local economy, contributing to a more inclusive and thriving community. RX Kids reinforces Kalamazoo's vision of shared prosperity and community wealth building. With that, here's some facts, high-level overview. RX Kids Kalamazoo is a cash allowance for every birth in the city of Kalamazoo. Residents that occurs, it's a cash allowance for every birth that occurs in the city of Kalamazoo for residents. Launch is scheduled for early next year in the first quarter. It's estimated this could support at least 840 births in the city of Kalamazoo. The program provides prenatal payment of $1,500 and then $500 per year or per month after the first year of life for the custodial parents or caretakers, totaling $7,500 per baby. $1.5 million is the city's contribution in an overall attempt to raise $8.5 million, which has been raised thus far. The program is on track to meet its goals of having fully funded the cash allowances prior to launch for the next 3 years of the pilot. And lastly, our local funds will leverage $1.4 million in temporary assistance for needy families, or TANF funds, from the state budget. And that's out of $20 million total for RX Kids expansion. So I want to thank you all for providing me this opportunity to speak about this agenda item. I'm looking forward to 2025 and launching this pilot and beyond. And I'd like to introduce and welcome my colleague and comrade in arms in this effort, Alyssa Stewart, Chief Impact Community Officer from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. And welcome, Alyssa Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, commissioners. Super excited. I just want to thank you all again for your support of RX Kids for the city of Kalamazoo. We are so excited. It's been several months since we had our press conference on the steps of City Hall and celebrated this historic opportunity to really change the paradigm for our families in the city of Kalamazoo. And since that press conference, we've had great success, as Kevin alluded to, in fundraising. The early funding from the city of Kalamazoo was hugely helpful. After your commitment, we garnered a significant award from the county, which was a huge win, and 13 additional local funders have joined this effort, and we still have a couple asks out, but our fundraising success has been 100%. Every foundation that we have asked, every funder that we've asked to step in and join arms with us in this effort has done so. And so we have exceeded, actually, as of today, I got an award at 5 p.m. today. We've exceeded $8.9 million in funds raised just in a couple months for this important effort. So we're able to leverage those state dollars and really join this amazing statewide effort to expand RX Kids. So we are excited. You'll all be getting an invitation. The community will be getting an invitation in February, we hope, to be able to launch this program. At that point, people will be able to start enrolling. And after the launch date, again, every birth that occurs to residents of the city of Kalamazoo will be eligible. So we are so excited for this game-changing opportunity. So Kalamazoo Community Foundation is honored to serve as the local fiscal sponsor for this project. As a reminder, the project is actually operated by a global nonprofit called Give Directly, who has partnered with Flint, where this program was created, and has been operating RX Kids in Flint. So they'll be expanding their operation to serve the city of Kalamazoo. So we'll be using existing infrastructure and just scaling that up to effectively serve our families here. There'll be a Give Directly staff person on the ground here in the city of Kalamazoo to meet with folks, help them apply, provide customer service on the ground to folks. So it's kind of that great blend of statewide infrastructure, but a local feel and local boots on the ground to actually help serve these families and get them their child allowances. So thank you again, and we appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Bradle.
Sorry, Alyssa, this is few of us had a chance to attend your presentation at the W.E.F. John Institute breakfast, I think it was last week or the week before, and did a great job, and everyone who presented there. But one of the things I thought was interesting to hear about was, out of all the communities that could have been chosen as the next pilot community outside of Flint, why Kalamazoo?
Yeah. So that was a great question that was asked at the W.E.F. John Institute breakfast, where we were able to talk about child allowances and RX Kids. And I was excited to be able to answer that we were selected in large part because of our community readiness. We are a resource-rich community. We have amazing, generous community and philanthropy, and that primed us in many ways. We know we have in this community transformative resources. We've done many transformative amazing things in this community. And so we're looked at as a leader in the state because of that. And because we also had a lot of infrastructure around this prenatal and first year of life because of work done by many in this room and many in our community around reducing our Black infant mortality rates and improving our maternal and child health outcomes. And so we were able to really benefit from readiness because we have Cradle Kalamazoo, currently led by the YWCA. We have this great infrastructure and collective impact already in place. So this now, RX Kids becomes another part of that great umbrella of programs meant to really wrap our arms around families that are bringing babies into the world.
You spend a decent amount of time, the few times I've heard you and others present on the plan and talk about the somewhat, I guess, conflicting nature of bringing a child into the world is that it's one of the most expensive times, but it's also one of the times that for many people, they have the least. Mm-hmm. And so can you talk a little bit about that and just the economics of childbirth and why this is going to have such a big impact on individuals and families?
Absolutely, Commissioner Pradel. Yeah, so, and Kevin really hit on it too, that when we think about wealth and economic development, that national data and local data tells us that families' rates of poverty spike during pregnancy and the first year of life. A lot of other things spike during that time too, including involvement with CPS for causes of neglect, because it's just such a stressful transitional time for many households. So there's many things that point to it as a critical window of life, that first year of life. But economically, it is a super challenging time. And we hear this from our local families as well when we talk to 100 families that are in home visiting programs right now. Their income drops. They have to reduce hours. Maybe they're laid off because their job was a physical job and they're no longer able to do it. Once they have the baby, they want to spend time with their baby and bond with their baby and attach to their baby. And so they may reduce their hours or have to take some time off work. So income tends to drop for various reasons. And costs, of course, skyrocket. The cost of childcare, especially for infants, $12,000 to put an infant in childcare in Kalamazoo County for a year. So there's those costs. And then, of course, diapers, formula, breastfeeding supplies, strollers, car seats, all of the things that we need to have a baby safely. And so, yeah, it's conflicting time, expensive, income drops, and it also is supposed to be a time of joy for families and a time where they can hopefully also experience some joy. And the stress of those financial situations can really damper that for a lot of families.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other questions? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you guys for being here. I think this is a wonderful thing that's about to happen. I do have a couple questions, though. So I heard you say that this is open to any individual who has a child beginning next year. Is that correct?
After the launch of the program. So the exact launch date has not been nailed down, but it's looking like mid to late February.
Okay.
So every baby born after that point and then moving forward.
So it's every baby born after that point. Now, is there specific income limits? The reason I ask is it says in here within our packet that it's specifically for individuals that are on Medicaid as their primary source of health care. So I think we need to make sure we make that known.
Yes.
And really talk, let people know it's not just anyone, it's specific individuals that are within the Medicaid.
It is a universal program. The city's funds are being focused on Medicaid births. Overall, the program is a universal program. So every single baby born to residents of the city of Kalamazoo after that launch date will be eligible to apply. It's their choice. It's a very quick online application, low barrier in multiple languages, but there will need to be a choice to opt in. but they would be eligible to apply. There's no income requirement. On the back end, however, the TANF funds that Kevin mentioned from the state and the city's funds will be directed towards the Medicaid births.
Okay.
But from the participant perspective, it's open.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. That was really my main question.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Commissioner Decker. Vice Mayor Hess.
Thank you for being here, Alyssa.
Of course.
And thank you, Kevin, and City for really bringing this forward. I know that we're modeling after Flint and we're working with Flint closely. Is there, I know it's only been less than a year,
Yeah.
Is there any data that indicates the success of this program in Flint?
There is, and I would be happy to share it. It's definitely early data. There is comprehensive mixed methods evaluation going on for this program, both for Flint and then Kalamazoo will join. We will be evaluated as far as the success of this program. That is being led by U of M's Poverty Solutions Center, so by folks in the academic setting who are experts in this space of poverty and poverty reduction. So we're going to have great data throughout, and they're working hard to get as much data as quickly as possible, just knowing that many of us are waiting and wanting to understand the impact. So they have gotten some early data from Flint, which is showing really promising outcomes for the first class of people, if you will, that have gone through the full program. They have seen, especially at the point of birth, improved birth outcomes, statistically significant improvements in birth outcomes when comparing people from last year in the city of Flint who had babies to people who had babies this year as part of RX Kids. So the reduction in stress and the supports of what people can do with having these additional resources during pregnancy have improved birth weights in a statistically significant way, gestational term. And so those are obviously two key indicators that eventually tie to things like infant mortality. So babies are closer to full term and they have higher birth weights, which likely means their moms were healthier during pregnancy.
And hopefully that translates into the lower infant mortality
Absolutely.
rate. Where is it currently? Where is our infant mortality rate
Ours
currently
is
in
currently
Kalamazoo?
around, well, our Black infant mortality rate is currently about 13 for every 1,000 live births. Our white infant mortality rate is closer to 4.
Okay.
So again, that highlights the significant disparity between our white and Black infant mortality rates.
Absolutely, and we definitely have work to do. And just to say that we live in a city that believes that we can reduce poverty and put a dent in poverty, generational poverty in Kalamazoo, to know that this commission is doing something to support that through a large collaborative effort in Kalamazoo. It just is a Christmas miracle.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hess. Any other questions? Commissioner Decker. You're dead? Okay. Anyone else this time? Thank you so much for coming down here, and thank you, Mr. Ford, also for leading us on the city side with this effort. Any follow-up comments you wanted to make, or are you set at this point?
No, I'm fine. Thank you all for your support. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you, sir. Now is the opportunity for anyone in the chambers to comment on this item. It is item H4.
Fully support this item. Give me a little bit of leeway here because I'm technically going to be a little out of order. I want to draw your attention to the consent agenda item 13. You guys authorized the launch of fireworks December 31st at midnight, which would technically be 24 hours before the actual New Year. And we know Jack Urban doesn't like fireworks, so he'll call and complain.
Thank you so much. Do we have a problem with that? All right, back to this particular item though. Anyone else that wants to comment on this item, H4? Yes, please.
Hi. I just can't pass up an opportunity to talk about this and really to, when we talk about social determinants of health and that really dictate outcomes of Black and brown people in general, to have something that's so pilot-worthy that will really change the trajectory of lives of people it's just trailblazing. And I think that to be using infrastructure that's already in place. I mean, it's a perfect marrying of things that are, like Vice Mayor has said, it's a Christmas miracle to actually have a body that's even willing to even consider something like this. We've had very, very interesting commissions throughout the years, and I think that this is the perfect commission for a perfect time as this. And I'm just so excited for all of the work that y'all do. Not to say that y'all don't mess up sometimes. You know when you do, I'm the first one to tell you. But also, but also the fact that, you know, we really are making, I mean, the state of Michigan is really looking at Kalamazoo and really taking note of a lot of the things that we just kind of envision, thinking outside of the box and just going for it. A lot of times it works, surprisingly enough, and I wish that so many other people would not be so apt to look at the negative things, because overall, when you look at what this governmental body does on a regular basis, the good far outweighs the bad. And I think that these are the kind of things that people should be talking about. You know, the people that we're talking about, unhoused people, which I know this is not directly related, but it kind of is, you know, to talk about, you know, not doing anything and always having some things to say about what the government isn't doing and what the city doesn't do, but to not hear about how, you know, you have commissioners that have actually found in $500,000 for that very thing is pretty, you know, remarkable. And I think that, you know, you guys have to figure out a way to pat yourselves on the back and also let the city at large know about some of the good things that you guys are doing, because unless you come to a meeting or you're sitting online, you don't really know. There's not really a great job that you do when it comes to talking about all of the great things that you do. So you really want to figure out how to get stuff like this out to the public, because they don't know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to comment on this item H4? Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion? So moved. Motion made by Commissioner Cooney. Second. Supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Further discussion, Commissioners? Commissioner Pradel.
I don't know what made me think of this, but just kind of like looking over at Don. And, you know, obviously there's so many people involved with this work, but I can't think of a person who's devoted more in their life to thinking about ways to uplift the most vulnerable and people who, especially people who are living in poverty. You know, you've been on commission for a long time. And, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, you know, Gwendolyn mentioned this, but how unthinkable something like this would have been 25 plus years ago on the same body or with the same staff. You know, these are the kind of things, like when I was thinking about, like, what back in the early days of when we were trying to figure out how to use ARPA, and is that the best ways to do it is we're not going to solve poverty in our community. But if we can find our piece to be that propellant or that accelerator to make that work happen, that's how we should do it. And this is a great example of that. I think the other thing that's really powerful about this too is when you look at 30 critical stakeholders involved in this. And Alyssa and Kevin, you talked about all the different people who basically stepped up to already commit $8.9 million to this work. You know, this is another example of where you're not just chasing dollars, but yet you have like this vision and this idea that funders now want to support moving forward. So just congratulations to everybody involved. And I really feel like there's something big that's about to happen here. I think a lot of people and researchers around the country are going to be looking at Flint and Kalamazoo to make this something greater as a model in the country. And it's exciting to be a part of a community that does this work. So thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Yes, Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you, Alyssa, for being such a champion of this and making this happen. And thank you, Kevin, for your strong support. I just want to say that 4 years ago, the federal government passed a program called the Refundable Child Tax Credit. And in a year, we cut the poverty rate among children in half. Unfortunately, that legislation had a sunset, and it was not renewed. We know how to end child poverty in this country. Put money in the hands of the parents. And that's what this program does. And I'm so excited that we're a part of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooney. Vice Mayor Hess?
Good peripheral vision, Mayor. Yeah, and I also like the fact that we are going to be able to have that data to share with other communities, that we have, I believe it's the UpGen Institute, helping us keep this data and make it available so that we can see that it's really happening. We can say it's really happening, but the data is going to give us the true answers. So I'm just really looking forward to something big happening here in Kalamazoo and spreading throughout the country.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Hess. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call a roll.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
I will abstain.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next are reports and legislation. City Manager Ritzman, do you have a report?
Yeah, so this is our last meeting of 2024. So I just wanted to, first of all, thank our city staff for all the work that has been done by our incredible team in 2024. I know there have been bumps in the road, and that pun is intended. And we are looking forward to a great 2025. And I also want to thank the City Commission for your support throughout the year, and of the staff and the great work that we're doing. And the community. I want to thank everyone that is supportive of the work that we're doing, and we look forward to another great year in 2025. And happy holidays to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Ritzman. Now is the opportunity for Commissioner comments. Commissioners, anyone who would like to make a comment this evening? Yes, Commissioner Cooney.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank my colleagues, Commissioner Hoffman, Commissioner Decker, for advocating for finding the money for the emergency shelters. We can't solve the whole problem of homelessness, but we can do a lot of things, and it's great. And I want to thank the administration and the city manager for finding the money to do that. This is so important. I think it shows the community how much we care, how much we want to do what we can, and I'm just so appreciative of that.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooney. Other comments? Commissioner Pradel?
I just like once in a while to boil up nuggets that are in the consent agenda that I just feel like it's kind of sad that they just get buried in the consent agenda. So one of them, there was changes with the FFE bylaws and articles of incorporation. And it'd be easy to just gloss over it in the consent agenda, but I think it really speaks to the community's values. So one of them was just recognizing, instead of using the word elector, to say that it's resident. Well, we think about how much more inclusive that is as language. The other one was just to avoid the consolidation of power, where you avoid letting officers be just the city manager or just a commissioner or just the mayor, and says, no, this needs to be more than just those people. So I thought that was pretty cool. I know Gwendolyn was here tonight, and I thought it was a neat night of where you're encapsulating, where you see a bunch of people who had an idea or a vision of what they wanted to do in the community to make a difference. And I think the thing that's really special about Kalamazoo is the fact that if you have an idea or an inspiration, this is a place where you can do it. I remember in 2019, attending some of Gwendolyn's info sessions, and it was just a person who had no experience in development, no experience in building housing, but just had a vision of another community that was doing something cool and said, hey, I want to do that here. And then maybe it's 7 years later, but accomplished that work, which is so powerful to see. The other thing, too, on the consent agenda, just to lift out as well, if you'll remember from our retreat, not only was RX Kids something that we elevated to say, hey, we want the administration to do, but something else that you'll notice that was buried in the consent agenda was early child care, daycare supports to support basically at-home child care centers to make sure that they can be successful and thrive, especially in our core neighborhoods. And so that's in there tonight, $132,000 to support that work in 20 home-based daycares. And that was another priority that we made. And that was part of, again, You talk about our economic development priorities. That lives up to that standard in my book. The other thing we saw in the consent agenda is playground equipment. You know, the Parks and Rec Department found a community where they accidentally put up a playground set that didn't work for this school, and basically found that the playground equipment was less than a year old, and we basically are getting this playground equipment for free to put in Verburg Park. How cool is that, right? Being great stewards of our dollars by getting perfectly good playground equipment from another community that just couldn't use it. So I just wanted to make sure to uplift a few of those things that you see that I think are neat or special things in the consent agenda. Definitely want to wish everyone up here, city staff, and especially the folks who will be working hard over the holidays when working hard and on behalf of the community, including men and women of public safety, the people in public services, and other professions that work around the clock to keep the city going. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Other commissioners, comments? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just kind of want to echo what Commissioner Pradel is saying with some of the things that were on the consent agenda. It does get overlooked, but there's, as Gwendolyn said, there's good things that happen within the city that we do. I just want to thank the team for working on the budget and getting it to us a few weeks earlier. So we always like that when we can have it done earlier. And, you know, we've taken a lot of chances up here on this dais to make things move forward in the city. And, you know, leadership is about taking those chances for the benefit of our community. And I know we've got a lot of things that are happening, and there's going to be a lot of good things that will come out of a lot of the decisions that we've made. I'm excited to go into the new year with you guys and the team and to see what else we can accomplish in 2025 and what other chances we can take for the betterment of our community. And happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to each of you on the dais, and more importantly to the city staff. There are times when my heart is full and I can't sleep at night, and so it can be 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm guilty of doing this to Laura. I'll text her or I'll send an email because it is heavy on us. So I just want to say thank you all again for answering, Jim, the email, and for us coming together and just loved on this community in a way. It wasn't about me or the support of not only just Commissioner Decker, but I had conversations with Commissioner Wilson as well. It was never about me or this dais. It was about our community and the residents that we serve. And we were able to get something done that did not take weeks. It took hours. And I really appreciate you all for letting me have a temper tantrum and also getting it done. So this is what love looks like. And the mayor always says, I love you, Kalamazoo. We show that this week. So I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Vice Mayor Hess.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for raising that and bringing that forward here in this community. Thank you, Commissioner. So a few things. We talked about the consent agenda, and I just so folks know, when the agenda is available out here, or if you're holding one in your hands, there is a QR code that will help you get to the packet that has all the information on the consent agenda drilled down right here. So you can see what we have already prepared for and know and that we know we're voting on. So if you have questions on the consent agenda, they are there in the packet. This meeting, I believe, has been in the spirit of the holidays. From the announcement from city manager of this $500,000 to RX Kids coming to fruition. So again, a Christmas miracle. My gratitude goes out to Joe Schmidt, who happens to be the deacon at my church at St. Thomas More, who lifted up John Reeves. And John Reeves was a friend. And John Reeves was an educator, and I value education here in Kalamazoo. John let everyone that he touched become their best self. He drew forth their best self. And the community is is definitely going to miss John. He was a creative soul, and he begged us to hold fast. We heard from folks that have brought forth the gleaners in this town. And while what we're doing up here and what we did up here was more local, the RX Kids and all of the things that we vote on, the gleaners is international. And this is something that we do from a local level that provides 15 to 20 million meals a year around the globe. And with just one little person, just one person with a prayer, this happened. So one person with a prayer, Gwendolyn Hooker, this can happen. And speaking of Gwendolyn, at the open house and the ribbon cutting for those tiny houses, she wanted us to know, and she wasn't going to say it in her comment because she was giving gratitude, but those homes also still need furniture and appliances. And if anybody has any ideas on that, hope-through, THRU-navigation.org is where you can find that information. We heard from Dano and Margie, who reminded us that one hug makes a difference in the community, that the coat drive, a coat can be a hug for someone in this community. And lastly, then Darius came forward and talked about unity and volunteerism in the city, and out of his abundance in his heart. So out of the abundance in our heart here in Kalamazoo, here on City Commission, we definitely wish everybody in the city the best of holidays as the light begins to come back to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So it's been a pleasure working with everybody in 24. I look forward to 25. Whole team here, appreciate all your efforts. I did want to recognize another person who passed just yesterday, as well as John Reeves, internal medicine person who often was referred the most challenging cases here in Kalamazoo, Dr. Jesse Duranzo, who practiced out of Borges for years and years and years, passed away yesterday. A very sad thing for the community. He was a person who lived and breathed the profession, spent all his nights and weekends researching things when he couldn't figure out what was going on with somebody. So I just want to say thank you to him, his family, all those efforts, and it just reminds me of another thing. And we were talking a little bit about this community being a resource-rich community, but at the end of the day, that resource, the greatest wealth, is the people who live here in this community. And not only do we have a whole group of people come up in front of us this evening who are doing one volunteer thing after another, very excited about those efforts, but that's just a small example of all the things that are going on in Kalamazoo. So just bless you, people of the city of Kalamazoo who care and turn that caring into action. I want to be a little more specific, just to do some thanking in advance here. I want to very specifically thank our public safety department in advance here now. A couple days ago, it was freezing out, and I drove by a house was burning just about a half a block away. Public safety team out in there fighting that fire, finding poisonous illegal drugs on the streets, helping getting guns off the streets, and just doing all that round the clock, no matter what the weather, no matter what the challenge work. So thank you, Chief Boyson. Thank your team, please, as we're coming into these holidays. No matter the holiday, I know you're going to be out there working. And public services. Once again, you never know when you're going to be called, whether there's a water main break, streets that need to be plowed. Your team is out there doing that. So thank you very much. Director Baker, please pass that on to your team. So just for all of us, don't ever overspend this season. Give your time, your attention, and your love. That is what is priceless. I love you. Kalamazoo, we're adjourned.